Hello, hi, and welcome back to the Light Side Podcast. I'm so excited because today I have my dear friend as a guest, Emma Ferg. Brief intro. I met Emma at the J. Shetty Certification School. She's a life coach and a human design specialist, and she's just a ray of sunshine. She's the type of person that can hold space and see you for your light. And I think that's a really special quality. I'm so happy that she found the profession that she did because she can add so much light back into the world. Emma is just very near and dear to my heart. And human design is a beautiful, beautiful tool that not many people have tapped into. I have dabbed into so many different things out there. And I feel like human design is definitely the more accurate tool that I've been able to be in touch with, where I feel really understood and seen, and it's helped guide me through life. So I hope that through this conversation, we're able to inspire others. So with that, Emma.
Hey, show. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. I'm just like, it's so cool to just be a part of this beginning, right? We had this whole life up until we met each other, and then meeting each other through the program and being able to kind of tell our story through our social media and also just being better friends has been really beautiful. And thank you. The light that you see in me, I also see in you. You are someone that is really beautiful with your spoken word. I feel like when you speak, it's prophetic. Everything that I need. Show and I have gifted each other coaching here and there. And anything that I need to hear, you just bolster me right back up and get me back in the game. And I so appreciate that. So light sees light.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, I feel that in my heart, and I agree. I'm so thankful for our connection. I'm so happy we were drawn to each other through the program,
Oh
right?
my
And like
gosh.
you're such a firecracker. Hard not to notice, but but it's like, there's a lot of people in our program, and I'm really appreciative. And you're the first ever guest of the Light Side
Am
podcast.
I really? This is so
Yes,
fun. This is what I'm talking about, the beginnings, like
yes.
how incredible, because this is going to pop off. And I'm really excited to see all the different layers that it brings out. And gosh, who knows? Like maybe you have Jay on this pod one day.
Oh my God.
I'm
Wow.
manifesting that. I'm going to put that out there right now.
Okay,
Mm,
I heard that. Jay,
yes. And so it is.
okay, so for everyone who's listening and isn't familiar with human design, I think we should give a brief intro on what it is.
Yeah, I would love to. So, human design, I think the thing that's so interesting about it, and actually another really beautiful connection point for Show and I, is that I was feeling this tired, deep rooted tiredness in myself. And I remember talking to Cholet about all of the things that were happening in my life. And I just said, it doesn't really make any sense that I'm so tired all the time. I've been doing this blood work, I've been doing all of these other things, and I'm just kind of confused. And we're on the phone. I remember I was walking in this little park in Denver called Wash Park, and she says to me, I mean, have you ever looked into your human design? I'm like, no, what's that? And human design, for those of you who don't know, is this mix of several different modalities. So it's the I Ching system, the Kabbalah, astrology, the chakra system, all kind of morphed together based on your birth time, birth location, and birth date. And it's really meant to be your cosmic blueprint in this world. And so there are five different aura types, and we're all kind of familiar. We hear aura a lot. That's kind of a buzzword. And a lot of these buzzwords within human design are part of the whole package. And so it's really cool. You hear about all of these different personality tests, like the Myers-Briggs and things like that. And this is the first one that really nailed down mine, because there are about a billion different combinations of who you could be in human design. And truly, I've never had a reading that hasn't been spot on for someone. But the thing that was the most impactful for me was just realizing that I am a projector. And being a projector, you don't have a defined sacral system, which is like a battery. That's one of those nine centers. So we graduated from being the chakras to human design. And without getting too far into it, there is a center in human design, which is your battery center. And I don't have that. And so I was so confused as to why I was so tired all the time. I was also so confused as to why I have these sort of deeply melancholic um, phases. And then I have these really incredible highs of just this elated joy. And I realized through human design that that was just part of my design. It's just that thing that I do that colors my world to allow me to relate to all different forms of emotions. And so it really allows you to, that was always something, being someone that had delved into self work for so long. I always wanted to be different. I always wanted to be better. I always wanted to kind of erase that part of myself and fit in a little bit more to everyone else's mold. And I, through human design, realized that that's actually the beauty that's within me so that I can relate and give my own unique, purposeful gifts to the world. And each one of us has a unique purpose and it's outlined through your human design. So, if you've always wondered why you're different every single day, look into your human design. If you've always wondered why you're such an overthinker and everyone seems to get it together, look into your human design. If you're really emotional, look into your human design. If you're always in a rush, look into your human design. I'm here to help. But these are all things that can be learned to be accepted when you have this rubric and it's like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to be. I get it now.
I love that. That's really beautiful and it's profound because I think a lot of what we see out there is trying to mold us into very like almost cookie cutter, for lack of a better word, advice. Like, this is what you should do to be successful. This is what you should do to be like happy or whatnot. Right. Whereas I think the beauty of human design is that it acknowledges and it sees you for who you are, the parts of you that make you special and different and unique, and allows you to accept that, which actually is like a whole nother level of happiness and contentment and joy in of itself. Like, you don't need this other outside advice. There's just so much advice out there, right? And it's nice to have something that is tailored to you, that's personal to you.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Well, and each one of us has, so through human design, there's a lot of different elements. There's five different personality types. There's also different places where we're illuminated within our nine different centers, and those define what our authority is. And what an authority is like how we gain that yes or no if something is for us from the universe. So the whole idea is that we're meant to be in community and giving our gifts and our purpose to the world and communicating with the universe for the next right thing, because what someone else tells you is outside of you and you truly do have everything that you need inside of you. And just to further this point, I always wondered, people would be like, well, trust your gut, and I'd be like, what the heck does that even mean? I don't understand what that means. I No thank you, I don't subscribe to that. And it's actually because I have a completely open spleen, which is like where you get your gut responses and what that feeling feels like. So, of course, that feeling felt really foreign to me. And it allowed me to realize, like, oh, my emotional wave is how I find what's right for me. And it's not in the moment. But if you have different types of authority, you do have an in the moment hit. And some of them are auditory in your head, some of them are in your body where you just feel like it's for you. Some of the authorities are, you need a soundboard, you need someone to speak out loud to, or you need to start making voice memos because the way that you speak is how you hear what you need. So it's really, really interesting. And one size definitely doesn't fit all.
I love that. I think that's so big for people to be aware of. We're also unique, just as someone is more emotional or like someone's more intuitive, someone doesn't have that gut instinct. And so I think that that is definitely one of the bigger revelations that comes with human design, is like knowing that the way you hear or the way you intuitively feel will be different.
Mm-hmm.
For our listeners who don't know these different types of
Mm-hmm.
design. Do you mind sharing what all of them are? Like
Yeah,
even
I would be happy to. There are so many amazing, amazing resources for finding out more about human design. I think the thing that I love the most about it is that you will never fully understand all of it. And I have this thing called a one line, which means I'm a researcher and I like to get to the bottom of the things. And the fact that there is no bottom to this is so exciting to me. Um, so yes, I would love to. And you can follow me on Instagram at the human design coach, all one word. There is also another woman who is the human design coach with dashes underneath her name. If you look up any of these types, you can find people. It is quite complex. And also go to my website, shoot me an email. I'll help you figure it out. DM me. So the 5 types are manifester. So they're the people that like get the party started. They're not meant to ask for permission. So if you're someone that has always been seen as stubborn or you don't really take direction well, it might be that you're a manifester and actually you are just in your essence the whole entire time.
I love
I
that.
work with people who they're like, gosh, my kids are they just don't listen. And then I'll run their human design and give a comparison. And I say, oh, well, you don't have a defined throat. They do have a defined throat and they're a manifester. So they're going to talk back to you and they're going to amplify in you the need to, there's so many intricacies, but comparing charts also, my auric energy is 6 feet. Your auric energy is 6 feet. And so when we get together and our auras mesh, you amplify things in me and I amplify things in you. So it's really, really interesting, but probably
Mhm.
way more than anybody wanted to know right there. The manifestor is the first type. They're the fire starters.
Okay.
The second type is the manifesting generator. So these are people that are multi-passionate, meant to be multi-passionate in their life. If you are someone that is constantly wanting to move, change your job, do different things with your life, you might be a manifesting generator, and that might be for you.
Mm.
So I think that old world view of people saying, you need to stay in this one career for X amount of time in order to be successful. Before I did human design, I was also a recruiter. And anyone that feels that they need to stay in the same career, that is such an archaic view. You actually, as a millennial, are expected to change your job 10 times within the first 10
Oh,
years of working. So that's really such an archaic thing. That's how you get your raises. That's how you get all of these other things. And so just putting that out there. The next type is a generator. So the manifestor doesn't really have that sacral center. They're just meant to start things and they're not meant to carry them through. The manifesting generator is meant to start things and have the energy to carry them through and do many different things. The
mm.
generator is meant to really, they're the workhorses for all of us. 70% of the world's population are some form of a generator. And so they have this amazing battery where they wake up in the morning and they have a full battery of energy that they really have to get out before the end of the
Wow.
day. And so um, when we're amplifying energy in each other, it can be really interesting, like being around a generator, you can get more energy from them. And also, it just gives you language to that individual feel that you have. And then a projector, which is what Chile and I are, is someone who is meant to sort of see into others. So our auras, literally, we have a penetrating aura. So sometimes I can know how you feel without you telling me. I can know what you're thinking without you telling me, and not in this like woo woo creepy way, but we are really meant to be the guides for other people. And so part of that is we do not have that battery that other people have. We are so incredibly efficient. We can get the same amount of work done that other people get done in 8 hours in 3 hours, which is why we don't have that sacral battery, because we are meant to be recognized for what we see rather than what we do. And, really be people that like take on deep rest. And it can be hard for people that are projectors that live in this corporate world where everyone's like, nope, you got to do 9 to 5 and da 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 da. So that's why knowing your type is really important because truly, if you're meant to be a guide, then there's many different avenues for you outside of the 9 to 5 where you are meant to be successful. And then last but not least are reflectors. So reflectors are 1% of the population. And they have this gorgeous Teflon aura around them that protects them because they have no defined centers, meaning every single day they feel like a different person. And what they're supposed to do is show us from a bird's eye view what's changed. They're like the great observers. And so they're amazing at analyzing data, analyzing like corporate change, things like that, because they're always feeling different and they're really like, they understand the agency of change and what that means. So yeah, it's really beautiful.
What I really love about it is that you really look into physics, quantum physics, like our essence is energy. And so I really love that human design helps you get into the nitty-gritty of your energy and what makes you uniquely you. You know, when you were talking about all that, like different people were coming into my mind and their like essence and the way they function and behave, right? And like what you just mentioned about projectors being in the corporate world, like I worked in the corporate world for many, many years, right? I know the roles that I did really well were the roles where I was able to see the bigger picture, able to share, like, this is how we can redesign it, helping guide, right? Like what you just mentioned about projectors is like providing guidance. You know, I don't think you necessarily need to like get up and leave your corporate career, but it's about like finding what within that career you can add the most value to, like
Mm-hmm.
so that, like you said, you're not draining your energy. I think it'll be fun if you haven't done your human design chart. It's so valuable to do. I got my reading with Emma and I loved it, opened my eyes to so much, even more than just the basic chart you can run on your own. You don't really get a lot of information out of that. And also, it can be really intimidating to read because it shows you like a body, kind of like a chakra human body, and like all these numbers and arrows. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's intimidating, but but that's why we have Emma. And I'm just kidding. But that's why we have experts in different fields. And Emma is a human design expert. And so you can work with her to like really get into the nitty gritty. And again, as someone who did a human design reading with Emma, I think I found it to be really insightful and valuable in terms of things that I can lean on to serve myself on a day-to-day
Mm.
basis, and things that maybe I need to be more accepting of within myself because it's my design. And I can either move against the grain or swim against the currents, or I can accept it and be at more ease. I'll share my personal story as to like why, because when I first discovered human design, I was really struggling and I was trying to make this pivotal life change. I had been grappling with the idea of potentially leaving my corporate career. I was a fourth year vice president. I really wanted to potentially stay in my career so that I can continue to grow through the corporate ladder. When I first started at Goldman, I wanted to make managing director. That was my goal. Like I was like, I'm gonna make MD and maybe partner one day. And I was just super, super oriented about that. And I did get promoted and I did do well, but I was deeply unsatisfied and unhappy and unfulfilled. And I was really not fully open and present to that because it was going against what I thought I wanted. It was almost like a part of me was fighting that truth. And I
Mm.
couldn't really understand why. It was like I think partly our ego comes into play because you're like, I've invested so much time into this, I've invested so much effort. It's a lot. And then for me, it had become a part of my identity almost. And so it was this battle of like, do I leave it? No, I don't. Like it was a lot to grapple with.
Mm.
And I was also struggling with insomnia, which was even making everything worse because my insomnia led to me taking medication, sleeping medication, which then impacted my moods a lot. I was feeling even more anxious, more depressed. I was sleeping very little. I had side effects like I fell a couple times. I my legs were jumping, my body would go numb, like it was scary and I just felt really on me. And the reason why I had made it so far in my career is because I was passionate about it. I was like passionate about showing up. I was like really happy. And then it's like as if I went through this gradual phase of being really unhappy. And so,
Mm.
sorry, super long story, but I think it's important to kind of set context because when I was making that decision, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm just, what's the big deal? Just leave your job. You know, it wasn't like that for me. It was like, man, I had fostered these relationships for so long and like I had built this credibility. I worked like crazy hours. It just felt like I was giving away like 10 years of my life. I don't know. It felt
Mhm.
very near and dear to my heart. So when I came across human design, I was in that phase of deciding to not take my sleeping medications anymore because at this point I have 8 to 9 different bottles and they're telling me to try 3, 4 different doses of each one. And I'm like, they're not working. I feel like crap. Like it's just a lot is happening. And so I look into my human design as a projector. It tells me that if you don't have enough time to yourself, or if you're always on the go, which I was working like 12 to 15-hour days, then I would like meet people, friends, maybe. I don't know. I was not sleeping enough. And it said that if you do that, if you're always on the go, like you said, we don't have like this battery within us, you will deal with insomnia. And I was like, this is me. Like literally, I have insomnia. Like I'm struggling with this. Like everything that I was seeing about projectors was just resonating with me so much. I guess the way I'm tying this together is like, yes, it's about the habits that I changed, but I think human design opened my eyes to the fact that yes, maybe other people are working crazy hours and or are doing this, but maybe that's their design and maybe I'm not meant to do it the way they're doing it, or that maybe I was able to do it for so long and but that doesn't mean I wasn't tired. It doesn't mean that it was complementing my energy, you know? And so I think human design
Mm.
really opened my eyes. And then also I was able to see when I'm not on my path, I think the indicator is bitterness. And I could see how bitter I had become. I was so bitter. Like I would I would have very non-pleasant conversations with some people. And like I didn't like how it made me feel because I engaged with that and I allowed that expression to overpower. But it was the truth. It was like I just couldn't help it. I felt very bitter. And it was because I wasn't in my design. It's interesting to see how it plays out in our lives. And I'm curious to hear about you. Like, how did human design personally affect you, like understanding your design?
First of all, you did not ramble. That was so beautifully packaged. And thank you for sharing that with me because it is such a powerful conversation. One of the most gorgeous, and thank you for asking. I won't get to the question, but one of the most gorgeous things about each one of our designs is the amplification that we get from community, right? So when we go back into ourselves and when we take time for ourselves, we're only then more able to amplify the best in ourselves and the best in other people.
Mm.
And one of the things that we can do as projectors is because we do have that where we can do in 3 hours what other people can get done in 8, people recognize that in us. And as we love that recognition, right? We love to be recognized. That's one of our main things as projectors is we're like constantly saying like, hey, look at me, look at me. That's what our aura says. And so when people recognize that in us, it makes us feel good. So it kind of perpetuates this hamster wheel and we're just running on empty and we don't understand why it's not. Sometimes we get sick. We just don't understand why it seems so much easier for other people. And the way that it's really affected my life is that I recognize that I actually need to slow down to go faster. So, someone said to me, a couple years ago, grace is the natural unfolding of things. It allowed me to kind of like let go of any sort of idea on outcome and live more in the ease of the slower pace because I don't need to strive in order to make my impact. And if I did have that energy center, I would be able to do all of those things. And sometimes I'm like, damn, I want to be that babe that gets up at 4 a.m. and climbs the 14er every weekend. Like, there are parts of me that want to be able to have that strength and ability. And then I realize that my strength and ability, we each have our own, thing. And God, you talked about the health stuff. They had me, I was taking thyroid tests for a year. They thought that I had Hashimoto because my thyroid kept going up and down. I like got falsely diagnosed with MS for a hot second. And
Wow.
again, nobody talks about, kind of this idea of what you could be. So if you are struggling with your health, a lot of it actually can be indicated within your chart as well, which is really interesting.
That's so fascinating. And like, what you just said, I was always sick. Like it was like every other week I was sick. I was like, I don't know if it's because I live in New York City and it's cold. I mean, I was sick all the time. And it was because of this,
Hmm.
because of my design. I wasn't meant to be
Yeah.
running like
Yeah, well, and we're extremely porous. We take on other people's energies as our own, and it's gorgeous. And we also really need to like have great self-care practices.
yeah. How would you say it impacted your day-to-day life more directly,
Mhm.
knowing your design?
Yeah, it's interesting. I understand the need to sit with myself, to journal, to have have a cup of tea, you know, it can be kind of exhausting to go out in big groups of people. So as I don't really want my design to completely define who I am and the experiences that I have, and I want to honor who I came here to be, right? And
Mhm.
so it's a mix of, yeah, maybe I'll go to a concert and I am going to take on a lot of energy and that's okay. And I plan for the next day or two to have a more malleable schedule so that I can have that time to recover in my own auric energy, right?
Yeah.
Um, how about you?
I would say that I'm more conscious of spending time alone. And I've always been a big journaler. Like I started writing when I was like 12. And I love that time I have to myself, which it made sense. But also it helped me recognize that my deep sense of intuition isn't me being crazy, that I can honor it and I can listen to it. And honestly, time also showed me because I was like, okay, let's test this out. I feel this, let's see if it's true. And then it would be, and like, not to sound like I'm like some psychic, but at the same time, like maybe I am, I don't know, but Emma's like, what are you saying? But
Nope, not at all. I've always felt that about you. And that's also the beautiful part about design is that you can see somebody's gift through their chart and you can see like their personality through their chart. Like anybody that's like a 1 through 3 line is probably going to be an extrovert or an introvert. Anybody that's got a 4 through 6 in their line is an extrovert. Some people you have two line types. So if you're a 4-6, you have a lot of extroverted qualities. If you're a 1-3, you have a ton of introverted qualities. And then if you have a mix of one and the other, um, you kind of have this duality and that can also be jarring. You're like, how do I have
mm,
these two extremely opposing parts of self? It also tells you how you digest information. Are you someone who has a single stream of thought where you can figure out all of your inner thoughts by yourself, or do you need to speak it out loud to someone else? Do you have how many splits are in your definition? Because if you have a split in your definition, you need to speak it out loud to like one other person. If you're a triple split, you need to speak it out loud to many different people in order to figure out. So many different intricate ways that you can find out about your design, and it can be really overwhelming. I've made this whole spreadsheet, and by spreadsheet, I mean this whole like download. So when you get a reading from me, you can refer back to it later. I do always encourage you to record the session. And also, I'm not one of those people that's like, you have to pay for, a couple minutes. Send me a DM. I want to help you. My whole mission isn't to be like a greedy pig, it's to help you
I love that.
love yourself more,
it's just so powerful to know that there's a tool out there that you can use to really understand yourself better and to accept yourself. Everything you just said around like your chart helping you understand like your tendencies. If you are introverted or extroverted, or you are like, it's okay to have duality. It's okay to be this one way or another, and to be able to like allow that to guide us through our life, because that's what makes our life experience so unique. And so,
Mm.
and I'm so happy that we were able to talk about human design and now you're an expert at it. I feel like I manifested this. I have a friend I can ask these questions. Going back to the arrows that are next to the head part of
Yeah.
the chart, can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, I honestly, I really have to think like Ra was like the medium in which human design was like brought to the planet, and so many other people that went before me, because it is a really technical thing. And so I'm standing on the shoulders of all of these giants that have come before me. And I'm so grateful to be able to not have to figure this out on my own. And I think if there's one thing that I've learned from my self help and discovery journey, and I'd love to ask you about this. For me, I think I grew up thinking that I had to do life. If something was going to get it done, I had to do it myself. And what that meant was like, I didn't know that mentors were available to me. I didn't know that I could have somebody come and scoop me up and teach me some of these lessons and guide me along the way. And I couldn't do it alone. And you don't have to do it alone with anything, right? With human design, with work, with romantic relationships, with friendships, whatever that looks like and whatever is important to you. There's a reason that we have coaches in sports teams,
Yeah,
right? You
exactly.
know, people come and they give you the tools to like scoop you up. And sometimes you don't see that brilliance in yourself, which is why I also have a coach, right?
Mm.
And why I need gorgeous friends like you that have this spirit that just shines and pours out of them, where, you know, I trust you. I trust your insights. I trust your opinion. And I allow you to like speak life into me. And you're so gracious and lovely enough to do so. So thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
I feel like
um,
very mutual.
certainly, certainly, I didn't do this on my own, and I am not an expert because of my own, you know, craftiness or
I
like
get it,
ability to
but
look into it.
it takes time though. It takes time and passion and care to become an expert at something,
Thank you.
aligned with you. And you know what? I actually just had a thought how you, in your past life, weren't you an interior designer as well? So I
Yes,
think
I've thought
it's
about
just
this
been in
many
your,
times.
it's been in the stars for you. Things that just have design. Like you went from
Right?
interior
Like I didn't
design.
quite. I had to like tweak it just a little bit. Like I was like, oh, interior design, that sounds good, and then it's like, ma'am, you almost got it. You're almost there. You really are.
I mean, like, what are the odds, right? I know it's just like it just shows how you have an eye for design.
Dude, thank you for saying that. And also, there is this like part of your chart which will show you like one of my main things is that I'm quote unquote a tastemaker. And
I love
so,
that.
like, it's so wild how much you can learn and like love and accept. And so, to get back to your original question and the arrows that are on your chart. So there's four arrows that are at the top of your body graph, and some of these readings will give that information to you, and some won't really tell you what that is. And it tells you so many different things about yourself. The way that I personally interpret it in a reading is how you learn. Like, do you learn in really meticulous detail, or do you learn in overarching views? How you recall information. So you can learn in overarching views, but recall information in a very meticulous way, or you can recall it in a broad stroke, and that won't make sense to you. And so it's really important that you know these things, because, you know, kids, like students in schools, like, dang, if we just really like taught children based on their design. I know it's likely a long ways away. We're trying to still get people kind of even understanding what the heck human design is, but it's such a beautiful tool. And especially for parents with children, I've helped so many parents be able to connect to their children in a different way, because I'm able to, you know, look at the insights in their chart. The
Wow.
other thing that you can learn from the arrows is like, does somebody like a new adventure every time they go on vacation? Or do they like to go to the same place over and over again? And if you feel like you're lame for not having that like wanderlust that everyone else has, hey, that's just part of your design. It's just that thing you do because you're aligned with the highest version of you and the version of you that you're meant to be. And then last but not least, it'll tell you your manifestation style. So is it the journey where you manifest everything that you want? Or for you, is it the end result where you really do need to like write down all of your goals and you don't feel fulfilled or you don't feel like you've learned that lesson until you've reached the goal? And that's how I interpret it. There's many different ways that you can interpret those arrows. They really do tell us a lot about a lot of intricate parts of ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think like when I learned about the arrows and it told me how like maybe for some people, for instance, like routines can be a flex, and for others it's like just so easy and like they like to do the same exact thing, eat the same exact meal, like,
Total. And I love that. And I think like that's the secret sauce, right? And I want to hold space for the people that aren't, like on social media, it's so glorified to want to go and do all of those things. And if that's not something that resonates with you, or if you don't feel like you have the battery for it, look in your design. Like, let me help you out, man. Like, let me give you a little pat on the butt. You're doing great. It's all right. Keep going.
I
Uh,
love it. And that's one thing, like, I think working with Emma, she definitely instills a lot of confidence in you. You have a beautiful gift in doing that.
as do you, man. Gosh, it's so rare for someone to be able to speak life into me the way that you do. I just think
You're the best. Thank you.
you're so wise and you're so poised. And also, I think truly when you look for mentors, and I think all of us know this, like choose someone that you want to be like. And that was something that I'd recognized in Chile, like from the get. I was like, dang,
You're so
this woman is so shiny. How do I get some of that? Like, how do I? And truly, she embodies sunshine and her rays emit that and you absorb it just by being in her presence. Like your aura is a 10 out of 10. And can you tell me
Oh my God.
some of the things that you
You're gonna make me
learned?
cry. Thank you. That's so sweet of you. Honestly, I was not expecting all of that, but thank you, honey. I think you see in me what you really have in you. I appreciate that. What has helped me like in my journey? Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, like what are the keys what was the thing for you that you denied yourself
Mm.
for so long? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, this is the key the whole time. I thought da 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 da.
I think I have a tendency, and I think I may have shared this with you, that I feel like I just know things. And so, like, kind of as complex of knowing, knowing it all. But honestly, I worked on it. I promise I don't think I know it all. That can really stand in the way of seeking help or like, and
Mm,
kind of being a perfectionist. We can sometimes be our worst enemy when it comes to getting help. Or, like you said, like getting a coach, having a coach. I have a coach too. I've had a coach for a while. And I would say that there have been times where I haven't been in touch with a coach and I notice a difference because it's not about accountability because I feel like I am pretty self driven, but the ability to see blind spots, even though as someone who
mm,
I help clients find their blind spots, it's hard to see your own. Like you were saying, as projectors, it's easy to see things in other people that we can't see in ourselves. I think that's what you said to me. And I think having a coach has been
mm.
really important for me to also be able to have these breakthrough moments of like, okay, I knew this and I knew that, but now I can connect the two. Sense of it. It adds up better. And
Mhm.
I would say in my personal journey though, like reading helps me a lot, like because it helps flex my mind, opens my mind. And but above all, it's been experiences and trial and error, like trying ways of being and it maybe showing me that it doesn't work for me. Um,
Mm,
I feel like on my self-help or self-discovery journey, like tools like human design have been helpful. Say if you're dabbling with figuring out a tool out there, I would honestly, like, I know it sounds very forward, but I think human design is it because it really is combining all the tools out there into this one lump sum of wisdom that is so like, wow, eye opening. And this man who channeled all this wisdom gave us like all a gift. There's no right or wrong way, right? It's like whatever resonates with people. But I would say if you feel like you don't know where to start, it's a great place to start. And then you can go from there, right? Like you can follow your intuition and see what works for you. And I do think mentors and community are huge. Mentors, coaches, communities, people that you can trust. And I think like the biggest, one of the biggest lessons I've come to learn as being someone who's very independent and autonomous is I go further when I work with other people. And I can do it alone, but it's not half as fun. It's not half as valuable and enriching. And as someone who traveled alone, even in different countries, I realized like this past summer that traveling with other people, as much as, yeah, it's fun to be able to do whatever you want when you want and not have to get everyone's approval, but it is so much more enriching to even do half of the things on your list to do it with people versus doing it alone because it's just the
mm,
memories are something else. And then I think that really translates to the journey we have in life together. I can do a lot of things alone, or I can do half of it with other people and like learn so much more, experience so much more, like laugh so much more, and like actually be part of it and enjoy it, you know? And so I think part of my lesson in life recently has been realizing how much better life is when you share it with people and that
mm,
you allow yourself to be vulnerable to share it with people. And like, it's like, I've always been safe in feeling like, oh, I got this. Oh, I can do this.
mm,
But then when I've been able to open up and share my fears, how I feel about being judged, how I feel about being seen, I'm able to not carry the weight of it all on my own and have someone who can see it differently from an outside perspective help boost me and accelerate me through it and past it. I don't know, so much is coming to my mind as I'm like saying this because like because that's what I did for a long time and to see how much further I got when I accepted other people in my journey.
100%. And like me being in this profession as just one small example, I would never have known about this had we not collaborated, had I
Yeah.
not had, like had you not created a safe space
Mm,
for me to do that. And the only way that you create safe space for other people is by opening a little bit within yourself so that someone else can fill that. And then they open a little bit and you can fill that. And we're just constantly
yes.
creating these little niches inside of each other. And that's what we're here for,
Yeah.
is that connection, is our soul journey is to learn from the other, is to gain perspective. And you just miss out on so much. You
Yeah.
miss out on so much by being driven by the 3D. Like
Yeah.
when your thoughts can be up on 5D. So 3D is the material world, 5D is like the spiritual world. And if you're on purpose and you're cultivating connection and you're doing things for your soul connection, not your monetary real world connection,
Yeah.
you're always going to be more fulfilled. And the great people that have come before us that have researched shame, that have researched connection, Brene Brown, Jay Shetty, like
Yeah.
all of these people, so that we can come along and kind of keep sharing that story.
Yeah. I love that. I love how you said that. I recently read a book called Attached and it talked about how humans just need each other so much. And you love that book too, I gather.
Yes, it changed my life. There are three books that have changed my life, and that is one of them.
I love it so much. I was truly thinking about doing an episode on it because I think people need to like get their hands on it. And it was really impactful for me too. I actually just read it a month ago and it's like really front and center. It talks about how as human beings, society has projected on us that we need to be self-sufficient. We need to be like self-reliant. We need to be self everything, like autonomous, like we were just talking about. Whereas really psychology and a lot of science has proved over time that we need each other above all, and it's one of the most important aspects of our lives is our relationships, and it's just like almost like the foundation of our well-being in a way. I
Mm.
mean, after sleep, but
Wow, so beautifully put. Really.
Right. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's it's so true because everything you hear in the dating advice, self-help, a lot of not everything, but a lot of what you hear is like love yourself and like don't expect your other don't rely on your person, but it's like not necessarily love yourself, yes, but also rely on your person. It's okay. It's okay
Yeah.
to rely on your person or people
Total. And I think
or
so much for so many of us, like one of my core wounds is allowing someone to show up for me.
mm,
And so
yeah. Wow.
like for me, that was actually the opposite of what I needed to hear, right? Like don't allow anybody to show up for you and then like reading attached or don't allow anybody, yes, love yourself and figure out how to cultivate that and love yourself enough to extend your hand and say, hey, I need help. Can you scoop me up?
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. There's so much beauty in being vulnerable and being willing to accept help. And we just learn so much more. Emma, I wanted to ask you one other question before we wrap up. Do you come across people who are skeptic of human design? And what do you say to them?
It's interesting. Okay, let's just
I'm
be
so
so
curious.
clear about something that I find to be so funny. So,
Yeah.
you know those memes where people are like, hey, mom, what's my birthplace and birth time? And the mom's like, whoever that girl is, run.
Ignore.
Don't love that stigma, right?
Yeah.
Because it does help us so much. I think the thing is going to be skeptics in anything that you do, right? Like people, and it's also like just even more cemented in social media. You'll never be what everyone wants and what everyone's flavor is. And that is your genius. The people that are meant to find you will find you, right? And so pre-reading, I'm sure there are people and they're just too scared to tell me because I'm really intimidating. Um, but post-reading, gosh, people are blown away by how accurate it is. And again, do you think I'd be doing it if it wasn't something that trust me when I say, like, if anyone can do a YouTube rabbit hole, it's me. I love a good YouTube rabbit hole, but I really I want to know things about things and I learn it and I scoot and
Yeah.
move on. This is something that is just so captivating. And even if you don't find it to be captivating, it's certainly true. And it's such a good tool to love yourself more that's outside of what you say or what
Mm,
I say. It's almost this like direct portal to the universe and what the universe says is true about you. And it is, and you, and like everyone, like I said, there's 1 billion different, there's more than a billion different combinations of this. So like how wild
yeah, that's
that
incredible.
it resonates so deeply with so many, with truly everyone I've ever done a reading with. And, it's
Yeah.
always my favorite to do it on really good friends with this guy
Oh.
that I used to date. And he was like, what have you been up to lately? He doesn't talk like that. He goes, what have you been up to lately? I was telling him about human design. He's like, oh, that's so like, just it's so vintage, like the stereotype of how men are meant to be. Which is like,
Mm,
oh, cool. And I was like, why don't you just like let me do it for you? Do you know?
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been brave enough, like while we were dating, probably to say this to him because I now try and do it like a very speaky way where I'll be like, oh, that's so cool. Like, where are you from? And then they tell me, and then I'll be like a week later, like, What's your birthday? And then like I'm trying to like figure out the time of birth. Hearing this, you're welcome. But I just did an impromptu reading on this person, and you know, it's led to so many different conversations between this person and myself of like, hey, what's that thing you said about that? And da 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 da. And
Mm,
yeah, so certainly there are skeptics, and not so much after they get a reading.
yeah.
And I welcome it. I get it. I mean, I trust me, there's so many things out there where you're like,
It's
okay,
so true
I can't believe
though.
all of this. It's too much.
It's true. And like if you're a skeptic, get a reading and then we'll talk after.
And I have friends who like for Christmas, like they got a reading and then they were like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And gifted it to their entire family. And now I can be like, okay, here's the deal. And like the beauty in doing that is
Wow.
I'll be like, well, this is why, you and your dad butt heads. This
Mm,
is why your
I
mom and
love
your
that.
sister have this like crazy connection that you feel set apart from. But this is where you and your
Ah,
mom connect outside of that and all of these different things. And so it's
wow.
beautiful. Yeah.
So if you're listening and you're not convinced to run your whole family's chart, I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, do
It's-
whatever you want. I'm not your mom, but this helped
but I think
me.
you should.
But I'm probably do it.
Again, I can't recommend Emma enough for a human design reading. She's just a ray of sunshine, and the reading is so informative. And like, oh my goodness, I have like a 160-page report that Emma gave me that I've been reading and like
It feels like
nighttime.
160 pages. It's really 60 pages. It's anywhere between like there's a couple different variables of how many pages it can be,
Okay,
but
scrap that. It's 60 pages. I
and
don't
then we're gonna
dramatize.
put you onto this novel, okay? And you're gonna go on this literary journey. And then I put that box inside of another box.
It's offered in audibles.
I promise it's actually like it's not a whole journey of work.
Emma gives you this. I don't know if it's in my design, but every time I see a number, I like double it. Like I, I don't know, or triple it.
Okay.
Oh my God, I'm literally crying. All in all, I'm really excited for you guys to check it out. I'm so happy we could introduce human design. Do you want to share with everyone your coaching approach, how you get a client through the process?
Yeah, I would love to. So the way that my specific coaching practice works is we do a human design reading as the very first session that we have together. So I'll have you work through a wheel of life, and you're going to tell me what's working, what's not working in your life, and what you're looking to change. And that'll give me a really great idea on starting points and places that we need to kind of like let the light seep in a little bit. And then we do a human design reading as our first kind of pass through so that you can really understand all of these parts of yourself and maybe parts of yourself that you thought you needed to change in order to become a more aligned version of yourself, right? And you just realize that those are inherently who you're supposed to be. And then with that knowledge and with some of that acceptance, you can then step into this new awareness and this new mindset of the way that your future can unfold. And so yeah, it just really helps people to be able to embody this new awareness about themselves and take it forward, and it kind of just like bolsters everything that we're starting with. It gives you like sort of a rocket launcher before we head into the work where you just feel seen.
Whew, that's so great. That's such like that gives you such an incredible baseline. I mean, that's like getting to know someone from 0 to 100 really, really fast.
I call it X Games mode, baby. Getting to know them on X Games mode.
I love it. I mean, it accelerates the process.
My whole goal, and I'm sure your whole goal too, is like I don't want people that I coach forever. Not because I don't cultivate
Exactly.
relationships I really care about these people with, but I want them to be able to like go out and crush life. And then they have, that period in their life where they're having a hard time and they come back and they get one session, maybe two sessions, right? My whole goal isn't to have these people that I like that constantly need me. I want to teach you the skills so that you can run free without your little Bambi legs.
Exactly.
To the
It's like not
wilderness.
about creating a dependency whatsoever. It's about like empowerment, and it's like a rocket launch. And, part of in my practice, I do EFT tapping, which is like the tapping method or emotional freedom technique. And it helps people let go of tendencies and certain patterns that before, like studies show therapists would take like over a year to really get to that root cause, and you can really get into it and release it within a session. The whole aim is to help people and help serve versus like fostering like ongoing 1 year, 2 year, 3 year relationship,
Oh my
and
God,
of
I know
course
you
it
don't want to
happens.
hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are times, right, when certain people have like various goals and things they want to work on, and it may be ongoing for a long time. But Emma, I went off and I didn't give you the chance to tell people how they can find you, any other information or resources that you want to share.
They can find me at the Human Design Coach, one word, on Instagram, and my name is Emma Ferg. I have a website that is www.giveaferg.com. It's Ferg, because I just want you to give a Ferg about yourself, give a Ferg about everybody else. My favorite
Yes.
verb.
Yes. Thanks for coming on and sharing everything that you did, sharing your light, sharing your wisdom, sharing everything that you've learned and continue to learn. Definitely follow Emma on Instagram. I love seeing her of knowledge on human design, as well as just everything life, embracing who we are, being confident, being unstoppable. So definitely a beautiful face to pop up on your feed. So with that, if you don't already, definitely follow Emma and I on Instagram, because I think that is the place where we share our latest and greatest offerings. So happy that we're able to sit down, have this space, have this conversation, and hopefully help people on their journey together. And
Let's go.
yes, 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 yes. That was all super, super helpful. Thank you again for joining and being here, sharing your light. Everyone that joined in and listened, please let us know if you have any thoughts or feedback. You know how to reach us. I'll have Emma's details in the show notes as well, so you can find her handle. I'm so thankful for all of you being here, for you being here. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Emma.